So Google Analytics 4 is what I'm talking about today. Don't touch it. My name is Daniel. I'm SEO at .close. We're a Vienna-based online marketing SEO, SEA agency. And yeah, Google Analytics 4 is, or Google Analytics is a tool that I use in my daily work life to look at what tactics work, where are potentials to optimize websites and stuff like that. And so sooner or later I had to think about Google Analytics, and today I want to give a quick introduction to you because I know that many have pushed it as far back as they can because everybody likes the old universal analytics. So what's today's agenda? I will, in the first part, talk a bit about why change to Google Analytics 4 in the first place, how to implement it on your WordPress website, and what are the differences between the old Universal Analytics and Google Analytics 4. And especially we'll talk about events and the reports and explorations in the interface. And in the second part, I will do a quick hands-on where I sit down and we'll look at the interface of Google Analytics and also maybe Google Tag Manager, because I think it's more easy to show it than to have like a presentation with just screenshots. So why change to Google Analytics 4 in the first place? The reason is simple. As many will know, Google Analytics 3 will go away. I think Google Analytics 4 was first introduced 2019 as an open beta, so it's around 2.5 years that you can use it. And then this autumn, Google said that they will sunset Google Universal Analytics in the summer next year. So from July the 1st, you will not see any hits in Google Analytics any longer. So if you have no data in there on July the 1st, it's not your fault because it just will stop working. So, but even when you want to keep using Google Analytics, Google Universal Analytics, as long as it is available, and as said, I know many people who want to stick with Google Universal Analytics, you should better start to at least collect data better today than tomorrow, because in July you want to have some kind of data set where you can compare your data from July the 1st with previous dates, and also you want to make sure that like the two different Universal Analytics and Google Analytics 4, that there are not that big data discrepancies. When I was at the WordCamp in spring, one of the most discussed topics was, can I use Google Analytics under GDPR in Austria? And that was because I think in January or February there was a ruling from the Austrian Data Protection Agency about a case where Marx, I think, had a case against NetDoctor back then, and the Data Protection Agency said Google Analytics 4 is illegal. Back then, all the customers called us, and we called a privacy lawyer, and he said basically that ruling has changed nothing at all. So Google Analytics in Austria still remains a gray area. So why is that? So the ruling about that NetDoctor case was about the setup they had in 2019. And they, at least, I think they did everything wrong then. So they didn't have the user's consent, they didn't use this anonymous IP function, functionality and stuff like that. And the one point why everybody thought that this would apply to all future Google Analytics usage was that because of the data transmission to the US. So we asked a lawyer what's the reason behind that, or what's it in the first place, and he told us the following. So basically, you need some kind of legal framework why you can, so that you can transfer data of your users to the US. And before it was the privacy shield, and before that it was the safe harbor. But the European High Court both overruled it and said it was not legal. And as they become not compliant any longer to the GDPR, the fallback solution is this what's called standard contextual clauses, which is also a legal framework that the European Commission negotiates with the US government and stuff like that. And the old standard contextual clauses were for GDPR from 2010 or something like that, and they didn't meet the GDPR standards. In the meantime, the EU Commission and the US government have negotiated new standard clauses, and now you can rely on that standard contextual clauses for the data transmission to the US. The lawyer said he thinks that sooner or later the European High Court will also say this will be illegal, but at the moment there's nothing that says it's illegal and nothing that says it's legal, so it remains a gray area. You need to weigh up the reasons why you want to use Google Analytics or against the personal data rights, the privacy rights of your users. So it, as said, is a gray area. In any case, when you use Google Analytics, you need to do some things. So the first thing is you, of course, have to inform your users that you use Google Analytics. You have to obtain consent before you initialize the Google Analytics. So don't track anything before the user has clicked the I accept button. And very important, accept these data processing terms in the Google Analytics account, because these, as said, are legal basis for the data transmission to the US. So one feature which is new in Google Analytics 4, until now with Google Universal Analytics, we always had to add that line that says anonymous IP true, so that the full IP address of your users is not saved on the Google servers. With Google Analytics 4, this is the default behavior, and you cannot even change it back. So that's one feature that's new, and Google Analytics 4 has also some additional privacy features, like you can set the data retention times more granularly. So we decided now that we want to use Google Analytics on our website, and we'll do everything to meet the GDPR as best as we can. So the next question is how to deploy Google Analytics 4 to our WordPress site. In the first place, we need to set up a Google Analytics 4 property. There is, if you already have a universal property, there is an assistant which clones the basic settings of the universal property and creates a new Google Analytics 4 property, and also ties it to the existing Google Analytics account. That setup assistant works pretty well, so I can only recommend doing it via that. Then, of course, you can just copy the GA4 JavaScript snippet that you get from Google Analytics on your website. just copy it in your child theme, or use your favorite WordPress plugin to deploy the GA4 snippet. But I hardly recommend adding GA4 always with the Google Tag Manager, because you're way more flexible and you can use the Google Tag Manager, or you probably will use it to create custom events, to track custom events on your website with Google Analytics 4. When I'm deploying Google Analytics with WordPress sites, I usually use these tools and plugins. So I always use the Google Tag Manager for managing GA4 and also for managing other pixels or trackers like LinkedIn Insights or Facebook Pixel, or I don't know. I always like to use the Borlabs cookie plugin for deploying the tag manager then on the website, because you can nicely manage the user's consent and can push the events to the data layer, which then triggers the Google Analytics 4. If you have an e-commerce shop or a WooCommerce shop, I would recommend to use the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin, which is a really nice plugin that you can use with together with Borlabs and the Google Tag Manager deployed over that, and only use that plugin to push data to the data layer. And it has a easy functionality where you get all the e-commerce data to the data layer. The data layer is the information layer where we can later grab information with Tag Manager and then push it to Google Analytics 4. It also has some features if you don't use WooCommerce shops, or if you want like track the login status of your users, for example. The GTM for WordPress plugin also gives that information if a user is logged in or is not logged in to the data layer. So then let's come to Google Analytics 4 and what are the differences between the Universal Analytics and Google Analytics 4. So the first obvious thing is the interface has a completely new look and feel, and it's structured in a complete different way. Then one new thing is in Google Analytics 4 that now everything is an event. Before we had page views, events, transactions, and now everything is called an event, and you can do different stuff with these events. It also focuses more on users and less on sessions. Before, Universal Analytics was heavily focused on sessions, and now this focus is shifted towards users. By default, we can now track more than a simple page view by just deploying analytics to the website. So even if you decide you don't want to use the tag manager but just want to copy that tracking snippet on your website, you can track more than just the page. Also a new feature is that you can now easily track different data sources. So if you have a website and an app, you can now set up Google Analytics 4 and pull both data sources into one property more easily. Before that, you needed to have like a Firebase tracking for your app and a Universal Analytics for your website, and then find some ways to pull it together. And also, there is a kind of AI integration where Google says it gives some smart insights and give you hints about data anomalies, and also they try to predict how your traffic is within the future. The new look and feel and the new structure of the Google Analytics interface, we will, I think, look at it better than in the hands-on part. But one thing is that in the last year that has changed very often. So Google Analytics 4 was still under development, and things appeared and shift from one section to another. I think just last week the configure section section moved to the admin section finally. So you always have to look where is the feature I want to use, and especially if you have a special case and you watch a video from last year, then maybe you need to search a while to find the feature that in the video is there and now is somewhere different. As I said, everything is now an event. Universal Analytics, we had the page view, and then different hit types, and now everything is an event. And I also said already that on Universal Analytics, the focus was on sessions, and now it's more on users. Google Analytics stores everything as an event, and there are also some metrics and dimensions that work a little bit different with GA4 now. For example, there are, for example, users. Before you had total number of users and new users, and now you have the total number of users, new users, and engaged users, which are users that at least spend 10 seconds active on your website or trigger different events. So the metrics may not be one-to-one from Universal Analytics and GA4. Events. So some events get collected automatically as soon as you have the tracking code on your website. These are page view, session start, first visit, and user engagement. So the page view is, I think, clear. Every time a user opens a website, a page view event is sent. The session start is if a user comes the first time on your website and he has not the cookie and he hasn't interacted with your website longer than, I think, 30 minutes is the default. So everything within 30 minutes is a session still. The first user event is sent if the user was not on your website before and he has not the cookie. And user engagement is an event that tries to measure if a user is still on your website and is still active. It pings the user after 10 seconds and sees if it's still there and active. And also, as I said, by default, we have a way to track more than simple page views, and we have this enhanced measurement, it's called, feature, which tracks some other events besides the page view. So per default, it also tracks scroll events. So if a user scrolls down your website, that gets now tracked automatically. That said, that's very limited also, because it only tracks if the user reaches 90% scroll depth of your website. So only the 90% mark is tracked. If you want to have like a more detailed and more granular scroll tracking, you still need to add a custom tracking for that scroll events. Also, a very cool feature is that outbound links are now tracked automatically. So if a user clicks on a link on your website that has a target page other than your domain, that link gets tracked automatically, and you can see it in the reports. The same is true with file download. So if you have a link that links a file, PDF, doc, a zip file, an audio file, a video file that can be downloaded, is also tracked automatically by Google Analytics 4. The site search event is not really a new event, because site search was also easily to be tracked with Universal Analytics. It works the same way, basically. You define the query parameters in the URL, and then Google Analytics can see if the user got to a search result page on your website. Video engagements are also automatically tracked. So if you have embedded videos, Google tracks here a video start, a video progress, and a video complete events. for that to function, the embedded video player needs to have the JavaScript API support. So I guess YouTube videos work pretty well. With other players, it depends how you have implemented them. And what's the last one? Form interactions. Yes, that's also a very nice automatically tracked event. So if a user interacts with a form, that could be a contact form or could be just a newsletter subscription form, Google Analytics tracks per default two events. The one is form start if a user starts to interact with the form, and form submit if the user has submitted the form. So,
can I ask questions or should we wait to the end?
Please ask the question.
My question was because we have sometimes this trouble with forms that don't really send a form submission event. So maybe some field is missing in the form and it just prints a message but does not really, you know what
yeah, it depends. So form tracking was always a pain in the so you always had to, it depends on how you build your form. So if you have contact form 7 or WP forms or all the other plugins, or you have a custom built form. Some do send events, so it works very often, this automatic tracking. If it doesn't work, you have to push a data layer event again and then grab the data layer event with the tag manager and do your custom form submission event with tag manager. So you have to test it. If it works, and if it doesn't work, you have to manually set it up, unfortunately.
Are you going to show when this enhanced measurement is activated?
Yeah, I can show them later in the hands-on part. If you need more events, we're now at the custom events part. This is best done with the Google Tag Manager because there you have a nice user interface where you can define rules, which are called triggers, when something has to happen, and then you can create tags. So define when a trigger is triggered, which data to send to which platform, here in this case Google Analytics 4. And here we have a new tag type which is called Google Analytics 4 event. There are now two event types. We come to that. We can look at it later also. The first one is a page view and configuration event, which basically you set your Google Analytics property in and also send the page view event and the initial event. And for all the custom events, you have the Google Analytics GA4 event tag, where you can send events as you need it. Google has their, though, recommended naming convention for some events that appear more often on websites. They have like a suggestion for you how you should name your events. So it's recommended to do it, but of course you're completely free. And if you want to name your events completely different, it's up to you. So here in this example, we would send an event name called email to Google Analytics 4 if our trigger is triggered, and we would see that email event on Google Analytics 4 later. But let's pretend that this event gets triggered when a user clicks on an email link on your website. The event email may not help us very much because we don't know which email was clicked, on which page, or yeah. So we might need additional information. And additional information can be passed by event parameters. Some event parameters are collected automatically and others need to be set up manually. So automatically collected event parameters are, for example, the user browser's language, the page location, just the URL, the page referrer, page title, and it depends on the very event. So for outbound link click events, for example, the link domain, the link URL, and if it's an outbound link or not is passed via event parameters. So as I said, some are tracked automatically with our event, your custom event email. Now the page location is also sent automatically as a parameter, so we at least could see on which page a user clicked on an email link. For example, on our contact page, he clicked on an email link. But maybe that's not enough, because maybe we want to know, we have more than one email address on our contact page, and we want to know on which email he or she clicked. And for that, we can set custom event parameters. And we know event parameters from Universal Analytics. There, for Universal Analytics event, we had a maximum of 4 parameters, which were category, action, label, and value. And while category and action you needed to fill out, the label and the value parameters were optional. In Google Analytics 4, now we can use up to 25 additional event parameters with every event, or we can use 0 and just pass the automatically tracked parameters. So it's up to you how much you want to track, and you should find a sweet spot. So what do I really want to know? And I would not recommend to send 25 parameters with one event. The event parameters, we are more free than we were at Google Analytics. So with Google Analytics, event with parameters look like that. So this is from a page that we can later look at. It's a blog where different lawyers blog about law stuff, and here we click if a user has clicked on a link that leads to an author profile. So it was named then, so we sent an event. The category was author page, and then we passed the click URL, so on which link to which author page, which profile did he click, and then we passed as the action, and as label we passed the click text. So if the user clicked on the name maybe, or if the user clicked on alle Beiträge von XYZ. And we can now do it the same way with Google Analytics 4. We have here, we can now name our event like before. I had it in the category, the name, author page, I kept that. And I also want to keep the two informations about which URL is behind the link and which anchor text was clicked. And I basically can send them as parameters, and we are here completely free to name our parameters. So it doesn't have to be category and action or label, but we can name our parameters as we want. So I decided here to name at the parameter click URL, which passes the value of the click URL, and I have decided to have a parameter click text, which then passes the variable of the click text. Here also there are some naming conventions in the recommended events tag, so you may take a look at it before you name your events. And it's also recommended to think about, are there event or parameter names that I may use for other events. So, for example, if you want to track, want to track the name of a form a user submitted, and you want to track if a user clicked on a button, you may not have two parameters called form name and button name, but you may have one parameter which is called element name. Then you can use the element name parameter and pass once the button name and once the form name. So it's the best practice to somehow find parameters that you may use with different events. then one thing is to use and to see and to use these custom parameters in the reporting. You need to register them as custom dimensions in Google Analytics 4. I don't know why it's that way, because it's an additional step. We didn't have to do it with Universal Analytics, but it's also easy. You just go to your admin section. There you have the custom dimension tab, and there you can just hit the button, create custom dimension, and then create a custom dimension where you basically map your parameter name with a dimension name. So here I said this is called click text. This is the text of a link or element click. The description is optional, and it's important that the click text, that the event parameter matches exactly the parameter name that I defined in the tag manager. With that set up, we can basically track anything we like, as we did before with Universal Analytics. You can use events in the reports, and you may, but you may, as you did in Universal Analytics, set some events as goals, as conversions. And that is also very easy in Google Analytics 4. As soon as an event got sent the first time to Analytics, within 24 hours you will see it in your existing events, and then you can just like take this or use the switcher and mark it as a conversion. In Google Analytics 4, you only can have events as conversions. You can no longer have like a destination page as a conversion, and you can no longer have like time on page as a conversion. So every conversion needs to be an event. Of course, you can like build a solution with the tag manager, so that only if a user reaches the thank you page, then I trigger an event that says thank you page conversion, and then mark that event as a conversion. But usually that's no longer necessary, because in the best case, the automatic form submission already tracks the form submission as an event that you can use as a conversion, and you don't have to track the thank you page. So now we have sent everything to Google Analytics, and now we want to have insights. The new interface is basically, we have 3 sections there, which is reports, exploration, and advertising, and of course we have the admin section, where most of the settings will be done, and before we had also a configure section, but as I said, that now moved to the admin section. The problem here is that the default reports may not answer your specific question. So the reports, every time I see a person using Google Analytics for the first time, there's some kind of loss, because the default reports are often not that obvious to use as they were in Universal Analytics. What bothers me, for example, is that in many reports you cannot like click to a different layer and click down like you can on Universal Analytics. And we have 2 ways to get better insights, which is we can A, build custom reports, or B, we can use the exploration section and have explorations with our data. For reports, that's in the report section, as said, the default reports only give you a basic idea. They're usually grouped in an overview report, and then in 2 or 3 detailed reports, but also the detailed reports like have the basic data. If you want to dig deeper and answer a specific question, you probably will have to use a custom report. The cool thing is that you can change any report. You can pull in the data you want to see, or get rid of data that you're not interested in, and then you can save these reports and override existing reports, or also have them as a copy and have both reports. New reports can, or custom reports can also created from scratch. Here, the library section within the report section is the way to go. There you can create new custom reports from scratch, only put in the data that you want to see, save it, and also there you can change and create collections. That is the shortcuts that you see in the report section. So you can, every custom report that you build, you can pull in the navigation basically, so you can easily access it later. But we will see it in the hands-on. The second, or the new thing, is the explorations section. And explorations are thought about, you have a specific problem and now you want to try around and find data that answers your question. And again, here you can create explorations from scratch. There are also already some templates in there, or you can start explorations also out of existing reports. But I think I better show that in the hands-on because it's hard to explain and better to show. So I will stop the presentation and jump in Google Analytics. I have to. All right. I have here Google Analytics 4 property that I set up like 3 days ago of a blog which is called Recht am Bau, and as I said, lawyers blog about law things, and we can use that as our demo account. So as said, you have like here an overview. If you go to Google Analytics and you have here the home, the reports, the explore section. That's one thing that bothers me most. The explore section, an advertising section, and this is already empty. And you have the admin section here. As the question was about where you can toggle the enhanced measurements. So every property has here a data stream, and within the data stream you have here the option for enhanced measurements. You can like activate it or deactivate it, and if it's deactivated, just the page view is collected, but you can also like decide if you want certain events not to be tracked. So this is where you set up this. Yes, as I said, the report section is this one. You have a real-time view where you have some cards, are they called, where you see the events that are just at the moment triggered on your website. You can see here scroll events, page view events, session start events, click events, and so on. And yeah, here we already, you cannot click deeper, but the most thing you will explore here in the life cycle section, and we have the acquisition report where you can see where your users come from. And as I told you, we have here an overview report, and then we have 2 detailed reports. So the overview report has a basic overview, how many users were there, how many new users were there, how many sections, and where the sessions come from. So most of our sessions come from organic search, some direct users, and some unassigned where Google cannot decide where they come from, and 1 referral session. And now we can decide if we want to look at users or if we want to look at sessions. So traffic acquisition is sessions, and user acquisition is based on users. The maybe most important section to start with is maybe the engagement section, because here you have, well, not the events, the conversions. Here you have the events reports where you see all the events that are tracked on your website. And here you can also, that's one of the few reports where you can click deeper and say, I only want to see the page views. And then you only see the events that are page views and can like see on which pages the users were. But for that, we would not need the events, because that's one of the few reports that have a direct section here. Pages and screens, these are basically are the URLs on your website where the users that the users viewed. We have here views, users, views per users, stuff like that. Conversion events, I have not defined any here, but here you would see conversions. The monetization section here, you would see, like if you have an online shop, then you would see purchases and stuff like that. I can show it maybe in the Google demo account better than I can here on my blog. Come on. So here you can see like purchase reports, or which items were purchased, stuff like that. Demographics, here we can see details about our users, where they're from, which gender they have. I think that's also self-explanatory. And the tech section, we can look at tech details, so which devices have the users used to surf your website, which browser had they, stuff like that. But let's come to like custom reports, and one report I use very often, or I need very often, is like I want to see the landing pages of all users that came from Google organic. So I would need to create a report for that. And so basically I have the acquisition report, and we have I cannot click the organic search here, so it's hard to find the data that I want. So I have two ways to get to the data. Either I can add my report here. I cannot change it here because I'm in the demo account. Let's change back to the Recht am Bau. So I could either customize my report here and add data that I want, or so I have here the dimensions that I want to use, and here the metrics that I want to show in my report, or I can go the way through the library. And within the library, we can here create a new report, and then you can decide if you want an overview or a detailed report. We can have a detailed report here, and there are already some templates, so traffic acquisition, user acquisition, but we can also start from scratch and create a new report. And now we can think about what do we want to see. So we want to have like the landing page on which a user land on. We put that as our primary dimension. And then for the metrics, what do we want to see? We want to see like the users. You can easily search for the metrics that you want. And then we can like select the total users maybe and apply it. And then I have like the landing pages users land on, but I still have like all the traffic, and I want to have only the traffic from organic. So I create a filter here and said I want like source medium, and then I say maybe, let's say only source, because I want to have Bing. Session source, and then I want to have all sessions that came from Google, and I apply it, and then I get here a filter, and now I have all the total number of users that came via Google on my website, and have like built this report. I can decide if I want to have this charged or no or not, and then I could save that report and name it like organic landing pages. And after I saved it, I could have it, I see it here in my library. So this is the report that I just created. Here up there I have collections, and collections are basically what I see here. So I have the life cycle collection, which is this one. I have the user selection, which is this one. And I have here an unpublished Search Console collection. You can edit each collection easily. You just click on Edit Collection, and you basically have the menu here. And now we can search for our organic landing page report, and I put it here in the acquisition tab, save it, and save the change to the current collection. I could also create a new collection, but I wanted to have the current one. And then after I saved it, it should be there. So next time you want to see that report, you can easily just click in here, and you can build your the reports that you need to answer the question that you have. Another way is the Explore section, where you can look at the data you collected, and here we have like different templates also. So the most usual are the free-form funnel exploration and path exploration, and you can build like stuff from here. So what I built here is a funnel where I just wanted to know how many of my users scroll down to the end of the page. So I have here the custom date range just yesterday, and have then here defined my funnel and said I want to look at every user that had a page view, and then I want to see all the users that have scrolled down 25%. So I have a percent scroll event, and I say if it contains 25, then I put the user here. The same for 50, 75, and fully read is he or she scrolled down unto 90%, and then I can have like my funnel here. So I see yesterday there were 128 users on a page, but only 38 scrolled down at least 25%, 33 scrolled 50, and the rest, and only 21% fully read my article. I also can easily compare different segments, so I can say I want to know if the desktop and the mobile traffic, if they behave differently, and so you can easily have the data compared here. You can yeah, that's that. Maybe we create a different exploration. Let's start with a free form. So what could we track? We could track, yeah, I have a tracking enabled that pushes the name of the author of an article as an event to search to Google Analytics. So maybe I want to know which author is read mostly, or which, yeah. So I can create a free form, and I can say I want to know the dimensions would be author name, and I want to have the number of events as values, and then I see, here it was only yesterday. It was only yesterday evening when I started to push the event, but I can already say that Manuela Maura Colletz was read the most. But why is that so? Maybe I want to know, does she have more than one article published? So I can use the page location and put it here as a secondary dimension, and then I get the page location in here, and then now I get page locations crossed with the author name. I have the problem now here that it's not set, is there as the major non-author, but you can easily go in here and create a filter from the exploration, and I want to now exclude the non-set, so I have only the events that have a value. What that does is it just creates a filter here that says that not exactly not set, and then maybe my page location makes more sense, and now I say, okay, Marek Koleva now is the one who has the most single reads, because now I have every combination here as one line. Nice way is to have the nested rows, and then I see, Manuela Maura Colletz, she has apparently 5 different articles which has 5, 2, 1, 1, 1 readers, and this Marek Koleva has just 1 which has 7 readers. And you can play around and find the data that you want to, that you need to answer the questions that you have. You can easily also have pivot tables here, just don't have it in the rows, but have it maybe as a pivot. Doesn't make sense here so much, but you can easily add your dimensions and metrics. If a dimension or a metric is not here, you can easily go on the plus and then search for any metric that you want. The same is true for dimensions. So if you want to search for the click text or the click URL, that functions as it does with the Google Tag Manager. Speaking of the Google Tag Manager, I also wanted to show how this is set up with the account. So let's see, maybe this is the event for the author click that I mentioned in in the presentation. No, wait, that's Google Analytics 3. We have here the event, click on the author page, where you have the, where you define the page view configuration tag, which is here. So that's the first tag that you define in the tag manager is this one, where you basically just put in your measurement ID and also send a page view. And then you need a trigger when this page view is sent. In my case, that's the borlabs opt-in trigger Google Analytics. So we know the user has has given his consent, so we are allowed to track Google Analytics. And that configuration tag you basically reference in every Google Analytics 4 event. So that's that here. Then I name my event. Here it's called author page, and the event parameters that I pass here is the click URL, which has the click URL variable, and the click text as the click text. And as I said, I can here add as much parameters as I want. So if I want to know if the button is yellow or if it's green, I could have a parameter named button color and then pass the value of button color with that parameter. And then I would need to go to the admin section in Analytics and just define my custom parameter as a custom dimension by mapping it here. Yes, so one cool other thing that may be helpful is that Google Analytics 4 has a debug view where you can see which events are fired if anybody is on your website. To see data here, you either need to be in the preview mode in Tag Manager, or you can download this little Google Analytics Debug Chrome plugin, which you just can activate if it's on, and I'm on now here the Recht am Bauseite, and I click here around. I should see in a moment or not. Maybe I have not allowed Google Analytics to send data. Am I in the right account? Oh, no, I'm not. That's the show effect. Let's try it with that one. So I'm now in the preview mode in the Tag Manager, and now I click here on this article, and I see now that the Google Analytics 4 page has fired, and now I should see it also here in my debug view. So I see here the page view, and I also see my article author event, which I push and can click in there and can see the parameter author name, which is here Matthias Nödel, which is the author of the article I've read. So that's a pretty good way to debug your tracking. Additionally to the tag assistant or to the Google Analytics preview mode to see which data are coming in Google Analytics and if they are the same that you are sending with the Tag Manager. Yeah, so basically that's my introduction, I think. If you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah.
Regarding the plugin.
Yeah.
So does this use your GA and your Google account, or how does this? Because I think it needs to know which tag managers you have access to, right? Because otherwise you could force unpublished changes to flow into the GA4 website.
No, it basically, all it does, as I know, is it adds this debug information, and then you see it in the debug, but it
uses the current tag.
It uses the current tag manager, so you cannot change anything because it's not the tag manager, it's just for Google Analytics 4. So if you have only the normal Google Analytics 4 snippet on your website, you can also use this one to debug it and to see if like the form submissions work well or not.
Okay.
Yeah.